World Post Day is observed in commemoration of the anniversary of the Universal Postal Union, which was established in 1974 in Switzerland. The purpose of World Post Day is to bring awareness to the post's role in everyday lives of people and business, as well as its contributions to global social and economic development. With the theme, Post for People, Local Service, Global Reach, shines a spotlight on the vital role postal services play in linking countries, supporting commerce and fostering trust across borders. Join us on Nigeria today as we engage the first female Postmaster General in Nigeria, who will be speaking to us on the World Post Day and other issues making reforms in Nigeria's postal service to conform with global best practice. Thanks for joining us. I'm Victoria Clinton. Now, with me in the studio, just like I've said before, the first female Postmaster General of the Federation and CEO. Her name is Tola Odeyemi. It's a pleasure to have you in Nigeria.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
You know, the first time I had post office or postal service, the first question that came to my mind was, is it still relevant in today's world where we have technological, development?
Okay. So I think, so thank you once again, thank you very much for having me here. So I think that even in today's world, the post is even more relevant to local communities than before. Because now what the post globally and in Nigeria is trying to do, one, connecting communities, right? In this world now, we are now the last mile delivery service provider for logistics, trade, e-commerce, even delivery of government services and financial services. So that's what makes the post great, in that there's a large network that serves both underserved and urban areas.
Okay, now tell us, what's it like, the Nigerian Postal Service? What is it like today?
So today, the Nigerian Postal Service, I see it as an enabler and a backbone, again, of e-commerce, financial inclusion, digital inclusion, and even trade inclusion, right? So I like to talk about the Nigerian Postal Service in 4 pillars. We have a traditional mail and logistics service, which is, comes up from our traditional role, where we move letters, but now we have expanded to e-commerce, right? And even doing things as interesting as agricultural logistics and health logistics. We have a project with the National Agency for the Control of AIDS, where we're doing biospecimen referral, that's moving a biospecimen on behalf of the AIDS Control Agency, right? Moving them from local communities to state capitals to the labs. Think of agriculture, right? Nigeria suffers about 40% post-harvest losses. The Nigerian Postal Service has a wide network where we can be farm gate, warehousing, and logistics for farmers. And the closer we are to the people, which we are, the ability for the Nigerian Postal Service to even reduce post-harvest losses. Then you think of financial services. When a lot of people talk about post office, when I meet a lot of older people, they talk about their money orders that they used to go and collect from the post office. But now in a digital world, the Nigerian Postal Service has 2, we're licensed by the central bank, 2 licenses. We have a super agency license, which allows us to do agency banking in rural communities beyond where your traditional banks and microfinance banks are. So you're able to do cash in, cash out, bill payment, as well as, of course, pay over the counter for our services. And we have an international money transfer operator license where we are involved in remittances, both inbound and outbound. So the Universal Postal Union that we're celebrating today actually has a system that links all post offices and all designated operators financially. Then I think of our e-government services, right? Where again, what we're trying to do is deliver government services at the last mile, which is beyond the reach again of most organizations. Right now, we're in partnership with the NIMSI on NIN registration. We're working with the Nigerian Interbank Settlement System on BVN registration. And the plan is that as we're able to onboard services that are required for citizen last mile delivery, that the Nigerian Postal Service is a preferred partner because we do have locations in all these places. And lastly, our value-added services where we act as an enabler. So we have things like our digital postcode that we're doing, our warehousing, and some of our e-commerce platforms that we're using to enable MSMEs and businesses in all communities.
Okay. Yeah, the first thing that struck me when you walked in was the fact that you were very young, and that amazed me. And as a matter of fact, I was impressed because I was expecting, like I told you, an elderly person, like we used to have in the past.
So, I mean, I am a beneficiary of the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yes.
That's interesting. So, tell us about the day, really. What's going on today? What's happening?
So World Post Today, again, is a celebration, it's a global celebration across 193 countries that belong to the Universal Postal Union, which was formed, is a specialized agency under the United Nations. It's 151 years strong, 1874. And basically it is to celebrate postal workers who are really the unsung heroes of last mile delivery of all these services in rural communities, in urban areas. People talk about, does NIPOS exist and things like that. So for example, in Nigeria, I think about all the postal workers that, regardless of what's going on, have been dedicated to keeping the post open. And that's why the Universal Postal Union celebrates all postal workers globally in all 193 countries as the unsung heroes of connectivity.
So in Nigeria today, so what did we do, to make it special for us?
To make it special, prior to this, today we had a competition, a letter writing competition for secondary schools. And again, yes, it's our traditional business in letters. And so one of the things the Post globally tries to do is keep the art of letter writing alive. And so we did a letter writing competition where we had over 1,000 entries. And today we announced the 3 winners across Nigeria. And also in NIPOS, what we decided to do was have a Face of NIPOS competition to showcase people who are sort of like the face of the compassion, the dedication, the resilience and integrity of postal workers. So we had people from different departments in NIPOS and different business units compete for the Face of NIPOS. So that was quite interesting. Yes.
Okay, now there's another issue that I think you should also talk about. When you see some of these post offices around the country, they are like, nothing is going on, nothing is happening. So is there anything, are there measures in place to bring them all alive, to make them look, lively?
Yeah, so as part of the reform, right, so first of all, some of these, the first post office in Nigeria was built in 1857. So a lot of this historical, they're old buildings. And of course, what we're trying to do as part of the reform for the Nigerian Postal Service, as announced by the Honorable Minister, Dr. Bosun Tijani, was talking about how we are now want to become an enabler, and we're designing a program that will revitalize all post offices across the country with private sector participation and investment. Okay. So that will be coming live very soon, and then you start seeing a lot of life and a lot of energy in all the post offices across the country.
Across the country.
Yes, and I'm really excited about that.
So do we still have these stamps? Back in the days we have stamps, buy stamps for...
Oh yes, Nigeria actually has a very vibrant philatelic culture. In fact, I believe that the vice president actually collects stamps as well, right? So they're stamp collectors, and we do releases of specialized stamps, maybe for Nigeria, for ECOWAS, for AU, for UPU, for United Nations. But in terms of stamps, there are still there's still people. You can still send mail with stamps, and then we also use stamp for denotation of transactions, right? So stamps are still being used across the country, both electronic and physical stamps for denoting contracts, denoting invoices and things like that. So the stamps still exist. You can walk into any post office and buy stamps, either for transactions or for collection.
Okay. Now, does these P.O. box thing still work? Because I know I have...
You remember your own box?
I can't remember right now. But, I know I have a friend in the U.S. He doesn't joke with his box. He will tell you, oh, let me check my mail, and all of that. So this thing still works.
Yes, we still have a P.O. box. Okay. There's still P.O. boxes in almost every post office across the country. But of course, as we are transitioning to digital, we are going to to be converting some of those to smart lockers, which are, enable e-commerce, as well as digitizing the post boxes as well, right? But PO boxes, and there are a lot of people who still remember their numbers, who still have their keys, and are very regular in checking their post boxes.
Okay, I know you mentioned it a little bit, but I still wanted to talk more on that and how NIPOS has improved service delivery, in the rural and underserved communities.
I mean, yeah, so we're still probably one of the only organizations, logistics organizations, who has a footprint everywhere. One of the things that we're trying to do is reinforce our last mile delivery, like the logistics end of it. But more particularly is to see the services that we can give in rural communities that would help the community. So we see ourselves as community enablers and the backbone for trade and commerce in this country. So yes, reinforcing our logistics, our last mile delivery, as well as trying our best to find and create services that are relevant to people in both, again, underserved rural communities as well as urban areas. And I think I mentioned some of this, particularly financial services and government services.
Okay, this conversation will continue, but we'll take a short break now. When we return, the conversation will continue. Don't go away.
The implementation of the ruling is also dependent on another aspect or another arm of government.
Nowhere in the world will allow under digital economy for banks not to be dispensing domestic currency in that economy.
What will make this one different? We want to know what they do as occupation. All of these are attributes that our questions have been designed to investigate.
In a few days to come, you see that we are all around their own crannies and everywhere in Nigeria, telling people to cooperate.
Welcome to Nigeria Today.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria Today. We're looking at the reforms and in the post service in Nigeria. And of course, I have the first female Postmaster General here with me to give us all the information that we need. Really. Now, is there any form of collaboration you're doing with private firms, talking about the fintechs and the courier firms, to improve your operations?
Oh, definitely. I mean, so we're in the digital, you need digital. So there are a couple of things we're doing. Our e-commerce platform, which is where we're helping businesses and e-commerce companies sort of help aggregate delivery solutions. It's powered by Stenbock, the technology firm. Right now, we're in the process of digitizing end-to-end our clearance. So a lot of, when people receive parcels from abroad, customs payment, things like that, and that's being powered by Paystack. And many other things, building our new unified postal management system. So there are a lot of things that we're doing with fintechs and with private companies. And with the rollout of our private operator model, there will even be more private sector participation in the post.
Now, how our mothers and fathers, because they were the people that were really using these it's not like the young stars don't use it, but they were more like the letters and everything coming, back in the days. So how are they finding these changes, the technological changes?
I mean, you have a mix of people, right? Like there are people who, I'm sure if I rolled out 10,000 smart lockers will still want their PO boxes. But I think that a lot of people that I've come across, especially older people, they're just really glad that there's some sort of life coming back to the Nigerian Postal Service. So they've actually, the older people have been my greatest champions in like, oh, come when I was this, so come make sure that is money order coming back. I'm like, yes, it's money order, but it's probably a bit more digital, right? You don't have to come to the post office to collect your money. We terminate the transaction in your bank account, right? But if you want to come and cash out, you can cash out. So I think that there's a lot of energy and a lot of support actually, particularly from older people, for the post. They're really proud of what the post is transitioning into. And so, yes, I think a lot of older people are actually quite agile in the way that they adapt to technology.
Okay, another thing I would want you to talk about is the strategies being adopted to ensure timely delivery of mails and parcels nationwide. Because I remember I had a parcel some time ago, that ended up in one of the post offices back then in Port Harcourt. Before I got there, some of the packages were not as it should be.
Yes. So what we're doing is looking at the entire sort of value chain from the moment it enters into Nigeria to the moment it's delivered. So we think about it, when it enters Nigeria, every package is subject to assessment by the Nigerian Customs Service. So we're working very close to them to ensure that there's a rapid turnaround in assessment. And then when it is then cleared, so for example, we're launching the Paystack platform, which allows you to see whether you have any customs duty to pay. If you don't, it then passes on to delivery. Then at that point in time, we're working with different logistics providers. So it's not just us. So for example, for things that come into the country, we'll move them by air for if there's any airport city. And then what we're doing, particularly at NIPOST, is reinforcing the last mile. So ensuring that the postmen and the workers have the tools, the vehicles, the cars to ensure last mile delivery. And particularly the ability of the customer to trace end to end and to see the status of their parcel, right? And so we do hand-to-hand checks. So for example, like your packet that was not out, so we do, okay, so if I take it from you and it's 1 kilo, the next person collecting from you, if it's less than 1 kilo, there's a red flag. And we do that hand-to-hand check. Even though there's a digital traceability, we're also doing sort of manual hand-to-hand checks, manual hand-to-hand assessment of what the box looks like. So that any hanky-panky is red flagged quickly in the system.
Okay. Is there something like tracking?
This is an end-to-end tracking, so that customers can see where their parcel is at any point in time. And even when it gets to the post office, just in case the person isn't checking, we then also have customer service call the person, look, it's at the post office, or if you want delivery to your house, depending on the product, under which your parcel came, because some of them terminate at post office, some of them terminate at door-to-door.
Okay. Now, what about, okay, so some of them terminate at door-to-door, which is the delivery
the
guys
delivery,
taking it to your house.
And some of them post office, depending on how it was sent, on the category under it, what it was sent from wherever.
So is there like someone you can call to say, okay, this is like your, what do they call that? Customer service.
Yes. So we have a customer service. We just recently,
very active one.
Yeah, we just revamped our customer service, deployed customer service software as well. For customs issues, we even have a dedicated line to just in case there's an assessment issue. So sometimes there's an assessment. If the customer disputes, there's a number you can call. There's also an email address. We have several online platforms, social media, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, and every other one.
You have to tell us, give us all those handles. See if
I
can remember them. Yes, so that people will know what's going on.
All of them are NIPOST NGN. NIPOST NGN. So on X, NIPOST NGN. On Instagram, NIPOST NGN. On LinkedIn, I believe it is NIPOST_NGN. NGN, yes, on LinkedIn, right. And then also my social, so I always say that I'm the chief customer service. So my handles as well on all platforms are Tola_Adeyemi, which I also attend to and refer issues to our customer service team. Because sometimes some people don't, they don't remember, so they just look who's the Postmaster General, look for and I attend to them as well, since I am the face of the Nigerian Postal Service. Because
from what you're saying now, you are still very, very busy. Like the post service is still very busy. I thought they've gone moribund, really.
No, I know. And yeah, we are. So a lot of people like, oh, I got a mail today. I didn't even know you guys were still around. I think there are many. I mean, we could, sit down here and discuss for like the next 3 hours on what caused this. The moribund, but I think that with the new energy that we have now and the reforms that the Honourable Minister has come up with, I think in the next 6 months to 1 year, this is 6 months, there will be no doubt that the Nigerian Postal Service still exists.
Can you tell us some of the reforms, the major ones that stands out?
So, for example, our digital postcode, and people always say like, what does that mean? So, with our digital postcode, what we're doing is right down to postal unit, which is to the house, to each individual standing building in Nigeria will have its own unique postcode. That has many advantages, not just for e-commerce or logistics, for government, for emergency services, for healthcare, for urban planning and things like that. So that's one. So now you'll be able, you know your postcode, right? So even when a lot of people are ordering things abroad and they get a postcode, some people just write 00000 because nobody knows their postcode. So and that is an enabler alongside with the national addressing system. Again, I mentioned the private sector participation in postal operations. That alone is a game changer. I believe that at that, when it's fully launched, it will be the first of its kind on the African continent, where we are reforming the postal service in a way that is unique, in a way that enables our economy. So basically what it's now doing is sort of enabling and increasing visibility. It is increasing the participation of communities, sort of inclusion, so there's inclusive growth, not just that, there's growth in urban areas. Literally taking this development and this sort of every service into the rural communities. And so for the person who needs to sell ashoke to Brazil, for the person who needs to, I can't even think about it, they will have the ability to participate in trade. And just moving trade, there's a project from Universal Postal Union, which is called Trade Post. And we've been signed on to that in Nigeria. The Honorable Minister approved that. And what that does is put the post, the entire network of the post, at the disposal. It's a single window that allows anybody end-to-end shipping and trade facilities from whatever community they are to global, to any global. So I think today's theme is Post for people, local services, global reach. With the Nigerian Postal Service, anybody in any community has a link to the 193 countries in the Universal Postal Union. I don't think any other logistics network can give you that. Because we're a union, literally to any country, I don't even know what country, as far as you can think, anybody in any community in Nigeria has access to this global market through the Nigerian Postal Service. And then, so yes, that's some of that.
So like if I want to export something now to any part of the world.
Yeah, 193 countries. So, and one thing we've also done is strengthening even our outbound. So we've signed agreements with basically all the major airlines, so we now move at least 4 times a week to different destinations. Air France, KLM, Lufthansa, Delta. We're onboarding with other airlines for Emirates, Ethiopian Airline. That way, we have access to both East, West, the African subcontinent, North, anywhere you can think about. We have a network into those countries now.
So which means you also can aid other logistic companies.
Yeah. So yes, to ship their things out. Yeah, because we also, so again, because we're in the union, so we have union negotiated rates, which is why there's almost nobody that can match our rates for outbound, because we have union negotiated rates with IATA. So we would always be the more affordable one, option than this. So you're doing quite a lot, really quite a lot. Now you talked about thing. Yes.
Okay, apart from the the logistics you just mentioned and some of this, so are there other new things that the postal service, the NIPOST, is doing or trying to introduce?
Yeah, so I mentioned financial services. Oh, well, it's not new. It used to be there. It went down, and now we have rebooted it, right? So financial services, government services, warehousing services, and at some